and I can see the results, right? Why can't I do that for every other dog? Right? Why can't we we can't stop what's going to happen, right? It's still inevitably going to be there. There's still going to be disease. Like, I'm not trying to cure cancer, but what I'm trying to do is give them an other alternative than when the vet says you either do A or you do B. Like, well, fuck that. How about C?
You are now tuning in to the Relentless Project. Real people, real stories, real life.
Just get into it.
Yeah, just get into it. Like baptism by fire with everything with me. Like hey, there's a little bit of nerve here. Like I was listening to something you were talking to the other day, somebody you were talking to, and it was that performance pressure, right? Like you live for that pressure and that anxiety, right? You need that to help drive you and get you to that next step, right? Like if you were at that training session you were talking about out in New Jersey, like having that performance anxiety in front of the group or whatever, or doing something new. And it's like, yeah, that's what this is for me today. It's like, yeah, there's some nerves back there. It's healthy, right? But, it's like anything else. Sun will come up, sun will go down. I'll get through it. It's cool.
Bro,
It's cool.
I fuck with it. Already starting off hot, man. That's the premise of the Relentless Project, bro. I appreciate you for jumping on. And for those of you who don't know, this is the one with Chris Reynolds. And I'll let him talk about a little bit of himself. But before that, he started this, I found to be like cool canine supplement. But like it's so much more than that, right? Because you're like building a brand around it. And in the short time, well, I won't say short time, it's been 2 years.
Right.
This is the first time we've seen each other in person.
Right.
Big dude just jumped in. I'm like, I ain't the biggest dude in the room no more. All right, cool. But first thing I want to do is I want to give you one of our challenge coins. And that's reserved for, especially you're getting into the LEO field with nutrition and stuff.
Yeah.
So we're big on challenge coins, and you can't buy that. That's something you have to earn. I feel you've earned it with what you've been through and where you're at right now.
I appreciate that a lot. That's funny because I have a set myself made up, and I didn't bring mine with me today. I had other things in the car and softball equipment for my daughter. I'm like, I totally forgot my coin for Ish.
I take IOUs.
So I got one.
No, that's dope.
Is
it like the same color of?
It's so everything we do with the brand is clean, right? So I don't need a lot of colors, a lot of flash. So it's a solid like monotone gray with just the image, and it's our original that you designed image. So I kept the original. We had another person design a new image for us, and I like having more than one. I want some brand recognition, but I like changing it up. But I still love the original, so the original's on the coin.
Hey, the original you came up with, I just put it on paper.
Hey, I couldn't do all that, so I couldn't do it without you. So yeah,
I like people. When I do stuff for people, they're like, man, I feel bad having you change it. I'm like, this is your brand. I'm just trying to like put it on paper. So the more you give me, the more I can do to get it closer to what you want to do. So you were one of those dudes. You're like, well, I really like the line thing, and I hate those type of logos. So I'm like, dude, I don't even really specialize. And I think I even told you, I was like, that's not really what I do.
That's exactly what you said. Yeah,
dude, I'll do it. I'll try it. And you ended up liking it. So I was like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah, it worked out great. Like I said, I kind of found that image somewhere else. And I'm like, I told you before, like art was in my background. So like seeing something that had one singular line and it was never lifted off the paper to create that image was what drew me to it. And I was like, that speaks to me. Like,
from start to finish.
Right. Start to finish. It's all right there. It's clean. It's simple. It's basic. It's a foundation. So like anything, if you don't have a good foundation, you can't build anything.
Amen, dude. Oh, we starting a lot. Tell us a little bit about you. You grew up in for those of you listening, we are Pittsburgh based, but people do come from other areas. Growing up in Ohio, how was that?
It was great. Like it was like anything else. I mean, it's probably like was growing up in Pittsburgh. I mean, Rust Belt, Northeast Ohio, Cleveland, Akron areas where I grew up for most of my life. Was born in Youngstown. Didn't live there too long. Moved around a little bit. Went to Kent for a little bit, and then went from there and went to a small suburb called Medina. Your standard middle class suburbia. Went to high school there. Had a group of boys there. Played sports. Did the whole nine there, and enjoyed things. Right, like it was what my mom wanted for us. My parents were together, but they weren't.
I feel like that's a very common thing, especially in today's age. Like,
Yeah.
you're together.
Yeah, they're together.
you're not together.
They weren't, and it was like I knew it at a young age that there wasn't that connect. Like I'd see my friends and be involved in sports and like see how their moms and dads interacted, and then I'd see how my parents interacted. And I'm like, it's not what I see with Bobby's family or what I see with Jimmy's family. Like, what's going on here? And then, you start to see and hear things that you shouldn't at a young age, and it just turns south for a little
Can
while.
I ask a personal question if you want me to ask
sure,
you? Because I grew up in what I would call a broken household, right? Single mom, dad not in the picture. And I grew up with a lot of people. And even today, I have friends who are going through things, and we hear this all the time. Well, we're just together for the kids, right? Having lived through that, do you think, and this is strictly your opinion, do you think it's better off to fake it for the kids until the kids get old enough and then you guys hate each other? Or do you think it's better to say, hey, like this isn't working out, but we're going to remain cordial, we're going to co-parent, and we're going to be there for Johnny and Susie? Like which one do you think? Because you grew up saying they were together, but they weren't.
Right.
And we hear it all the time of, well, man, we're only together for the kids. Well, you guys hate each other. You're miserable. You don't think kids' feet get fed off that?
I'm gonna say you fake it till you make it. Like is not gonna work. Like in my opinion, like I wish my parents would have just split and been done with it a long time ago, so they both could have lived the lives they wanted. Right. The difference in my household is that, yeah, I had two parents that didn't get along, but I also had one parent who didn't want kids, right? So like my old man was not a father at all. Like he was just a placeholder. So he didn't really want to raise his boys. Like he didn't want any part of it. And you could tell because he was just disconnected from everything. So like he had been married once before. Both my parents had been married once before. They split. They found each other. And my dad had a son from the previous marriage. That's my older, I call him my brother. He's my oldest, my half brother or whatever. But
Dude, I hate to interrupt.
No, you're good.
So I grew up with a brother and a sister. It was three of us in the household.
Right.
Well, he had a different father, and my sister had the same father. But that man raised me. But I ended up knowing he wasn't my dad.
Right.
Amazing man. I always called them my brother and sister, right? And then I get into like high school and college, and people are like, "Oh, you're half brother." I'm like, what the fuck's a half brother?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
oh, like not the same mom, same. I'm like, am I like the odd duck? Like, dude, it's like I started thinking about that. The older I got, I'm like, I guess I'm all alone in this world. But it sounds so dumb because we grew up.
Yeah.
But I started thinking about like my other siblings. My real father, my biological father, he has a boy and a girl from the same woman, me, and then a girl from a different woman. So she's an odd duck too, I guess. And then my mom, and then my other siblings have each other. I'm just like, dude, it's just me.
You're just the only one.
Just out here
You're
on the island.
All by yourself.
So yeah, interesting. You say that like half, because even you say you're like, well, I guess half.
Yeah, I don't like saying that, but it is like he's my brother, flat out. Like we didn't grow up in the same household by any means, and I never really saw him, almost never. Like it was my mother who always drove him to have the interaction with us in our household. So like he lived in a different city than us. Like my dad never spent any time with him. He never brought him around unless my mother made him do things. Like she would send the birthday cards. She would send the Christmas presents. She would make him a part of our lives in some form or fashion, but it wasn't an everyday thing. It was just needed when it needed to be, like holidays, special occasions, things of that nature. So it wasn't like we were close by any means. And even in our own household, it was like me and my younger brother, right? And then my oldest brother who passed before I was born. So he had 4 kids, technically 3 living, 1 passed away. And out of all those children, he wanted really nothing to do with us. Like it was like by the time I was 15, I remember having a conversation with him in the kitchen. I was like, hey, I'm getting ready to go to college probably in a couple of years here. Like if you really want to try to be my dad and like do what you should do as a father, I'm all for it. Like we can put the last 15 years behind us and we can try to move forward from here.
You said that at 15.
15. Like we were raised in,
man status, right?
we were raised, like my mother was one that raised us to be responsible young men at an early age, right? Like my dad's black, my mom's white. So there's that dichotomy right there. And then we're living in a predominantly white community, right? Doing a lot of moving around and that stuff. So there was always a target on our back. My mom felt like she knew like people looked at us different, right? They didn't like the look of our family. They didn't like the look of these boys, right? We were raised in the Catholic Church, right? So there was that fear of things that could go sideways there. So she always taught us to be aware of our surroundings, like always watching, always paying attention, and always be a step ahead, right? So for us, it was like, I remember 8 years old. Like I have an 8-year-old daughter now, and I would never do this with her now. But at 8 years old, like both my parents worked, right? Walk to school, come home. You're home by yourself till 6 o'clock. Summertime comes, right? My mother didn't believe in babysitters because she didn't trust people. She didn't want something to happen to us that she couldn't fix.
You sure your mom wasn't black?
No, I'm telling you, man. Like, in there somewhere,
or Puerto Rican, because that's my mom too.
No.
So I don't trust no man around my babies.
No, that's exactly how my mother was. And she's from Pittsburgh. She's from North Hills, so.
Bro, that's funny.
So it's just like, I was home at 8 years old with my brother who's, 2.5 years younger than me. He's 6? And all summer long, like, we're home by ourselves. And we had a bag of quarters, and the only place we had to leave from our street was to go to the city pool. So it was made.
She let y'all out and about? I wasn't even allowed to do that.
So it took a lot of convincing to let us do that, right? So we'd go to the pool, and it was literally like maybe 5 blocks away. And that's the only reason. And we had a bag of quarters, and I had to call her every hour on the hour. And if I didn't call her every hour on the hour, I was going to catch something. And that happened to me once.
Bag of quarters.
That happened to me one time. Like I had I think 4 quarters left, and it was hot, summertime. They sold stuff at the concession stand. My brother wanted a popsicle. I wanted a popsicle. I looked at the math. I make the decision. I spend the last $1 on popsicles. I can't call mom that hour. Guess who's at the fence? 10 minutes past that hour, screaming my name.
Was it worth it? Was the popsicle worth it?
Nah, it was not worth it. Trust me.
It goes to show you, we as humans tend to go to instant gratification rather than all kinds of lessons going on, bro.
I learned those lessons. I learned those lessons early. So to your point, like we were raised to be mature at a young age. So to have that conversation with my father at 15 wasn't hard to do. It was just, hey, let's just hash it out. Like let's try to get there. 15, I was closer to 16 when that conversation happened. He was trying to step in and teach me how to drive a car, try to drive manual. We were going to do that manly bonding thing, right? Didn't work out. I remember we drove up to my high school, which was probably like 5 miles from our house. We were going at it, and he had a short fuse, had a mean temper, had a mean streak in him.
Especially when driving.
Man, it was bad.
Amplified.
And like, there had been a lot of stuff in the past that he had done to just me physically, emotionally, that just I was trying to bury. So I was like, let's just move past that from here. And all that stuff came up again because he just lost his shit in the car because I couldn't figure it out. I was performance pressure. Like I was nervous. I mean, you think I'm a big guy. Like my old man was, I'm 6'3", but he's 6 foot. He was like 285, and he was just like, his calves and forearms looked like you dropped bricks in them. So like it was just that fear from day one, like, and he was from Youngstown. He was from the hood. So it was like, he was different. He was the only child. He was different.
Yeah.
I've heard stories about him from my grandparents that were like, yeah. So
he was Debo.
Basically.
I'm picturing Debo right now.
Yeah, basically. But it was just, we got into it. Verbal altercation, almost turned physical. And I got out the car. And at that point, I knew like we were never going to fix our relationship. It was never going to happen. I walked home. He was yelling at me on the way home walking. And I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm not taking this anymore. Like, I'm done. Like, I've had enough. Like, I'm done. I've given you 15 years to try to figure it out. I gave you one last chance. In the last few months, you couldn't figure it out. I got things to move on to. You do you, I'll do me. We'll share the same space in the household, but, like, you're just a place filler at this point.
So y'all were together, just not.
Yeah,
together.
like my parents, we didn't have big fancy, split level. Like we lived modest, and he slept downstairs. Mom slept upstairs. Like we would interact with mom all day long, with schoolwork, with transportation to and from, athletics, extracurriculars. Like he'd go to work, come home, do his thing. He'd pretend to be a part of whatever because we had to put on that show, right? Stay together for the kids. So when we got in public, like, oh, it's Coach Mel, it's Miss Karen, and it was, as a kid, I knew what was going on. And it was a different time then. Like this is in the 90s, 80s and 90s. So it wasn't like now where I could share with my friends what was going on. Like none of my friends knew. Nobody knew what was going on in my household.
Dude, I'm the same. I was the same way. Like, I keep everything close to the vest.
Yeah.
Just because, like, and I have conversations with people, and I try to explain, like, to my close circle, like, you need to talk to people. It's like, trusting people is probably my kryptonite, if that makes sense. Like, I can't do it. Like, I can't be. It's just tough, right? Because as soon as you entrust someone with something, you've given it away. Now it's gone, and you have to hope that they hold on to it. And people get mad, or people get angry, or now they start trying to, like, give you advice and sway your thinking, right? We see this with relationships, right? People, how many times people come up to me, oh, my fucking wife, like,
Yeah, dude, I hate that shit.
I hate it because I'm like, now I'm like,
go talk to your wife.
Well, in my mind, I'm like, every time I see you, y'all lovey-dovey, and I get it, like, you should be, but you telling me a whole different story. Like, does she know this? Does she not? Because now, as much as I try to be unbiased in everything I do, I'm looking at you like you a sucker, and I'm looking at her like you a sucker.
Right. Like I'm in the same boat. Like I'm just like you. Like I don't have a lot of friends. Like I couldn't tell you anything about what happened to anybody that I ever knew in my past. Like high school, college, old teammates. Like it was never like at the time. Yeah, it was tight. But then everybody went their separate ways. Like I didn't need to hold on to that to be who I needed to be, right? So like now at 46, right?
46?
Yeah.
Dude, what's in the water in Ohio?
Hey.
I need some of that. Damn.
A lot of work. Got to put it in every day.
It's that CaNine Clean Nutrition. We're going to get to that.
Right. But for me, it's like now I don't have, like, I'm just starting to have friends, like, in my community, right? Like, I'm just starting to meet people like you. And, like, the neighbor, like, there was a neighbor down the street, just met him, like, I don't know, 4 months ago. See him I've been in the neighborhood for almost 6 years now. I always thought he was an asshole, right? I try to wave when he go past. I'm not super neighborly, but, like, you know, he's a big dude. Like, he looked like he worked out. I was like, oh, you know.
You give him that nod.
Right. Try to give him that nod. Right. You give him the nod. Like, but he wouldn't give him the nod back. And I'm like, oh, who the fuck is this dude? Like, I tried a couple more times and shit slide. Fast forward to now, like this past spring, I started coaching softball for my daughter's team, right? His daughter winds up on my team. I get to know him. Hey, dude, do you realize that, like, for the last 5 years we've been neighbors? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, so what's the deal? He's like, well, I thought you were an asshole. I was like, well, I thought you were an asshole. Now we're tight. Now
we're both assholes. What's up, bro?
No, but he's the same thing. Like, he keeps people, you know, he's had his own past, his own history. He keeps his circle very close. He keeps it, you know, I call it my 3-foot circle. Like, anything that I need in my life is in this 3-foot circle. Everything else is outside. And to get let into that circle, you have to be somebody that's special. Like, because I don't need all the noise. Like, I don't. And so I could tell you on one hand, there's maybe 3 dudes that I'm tight with now in the last year that I would trust my life with. I would trust my child with, right? Because there's nobody I'm trusting my kids with.
Dude, for sure.
Nobody. Like, and I've got 3 boys that grown, and I got my 8-year-old daughter, right?
Oh, dude, she's like princess on the island.
So she's like, right? Like, she don't go nowhere. Like, she does, but she doesn't. Like, and we're just starting to do that now.
She thinks she does.
She does, and it's beautiful now to see her have friends and have that interaction and do things and be around other kids. But, like, she gets it because we don't hide it from her. Like, I put the world in front of her the way it is because she needs to. And, like, yeah, there's certain things that she hasn't had the conversation with us yet about because I don't think she's ready to actually process some of those things. But what she needs to know to keep herself safe on a day in and day out basis as an 8-year-old little girl, as an 8-year-old little brown girl, she knows. She knows these things. Like, she has tools that she goes to school with. She has protocols that she needs to follow at school or when she's with friends, right? That's just the way she's raised because it's a different world. Like I told you, there's no way I'm leaving my daughter home at 8 years old by herself, even with the knowledge she has, like my mom did with me, just not having it.
Yeah, it's a different time now. I remember I was around 8, and my mom would tell me she had bought me a Nintendo 64, and I was like we grew up very humble,
right?
Very humble. So, like, to get that, I'm like, we don't even have a TV to plug it into.
Right.
Well, the TV comes the next day. I'm like, she's like, hey, like, I picked up another job. You're gonna be staying home after school with your brother. Well, my brother was in an after school program, so I was home for at least 2 hours with my little sister alone.
Right.
So I'm like, damn, I'm the man of the house.
Right.
Like, she's like, I want y'all to go upstairs, play the game until your brother gets home. So she had bought this
Right. Specifically
to keep us distracted and like away. And she's like, no one, don't answer the door.
Right.
Don't look out the windows.
Right.
Don't scream. Like we lived in a project. You hear screaming, whatever. Don't
Right.
look out.
Right.
I'm like, well, I got a 64. I don't need to be looking at nothing. Dude.
Right.
So,
I'm locked in
yeah,
for the next
so
2
I was
hours.
at home, you know, screaming, gunshots. I'm just
Right.
like ignored it all, you
Right.
know? Then my brother would come home, door would be wide open, screen door, and I'm like, hey, mom said, he'd be like, who said? I'm like,
Yeah,
I
never
ain't
mind.
getting my ass beat today for
Right.
no reason. Like then I'm gonna get my ass beat for you, and then she's gonna come home, realize the door's open, I get my ass beat again. Like,
Right.
dude, it was
Right. No,
it was a good time. It was a good time.
I hear you.
But so you said you went through you all this shaped the person you are today, and it's interesting because I love my older brother, man. I owe him a lot for where I'm at, but he sacrificed a lot of his freedom so that I could be here. Now we had the same upbringing, the same circumstances. He did a couple bids in prison. I'm a cop with businesses, and so like what I try to instill into people, it's like it doesn't matter your circumstances, right? It sucks, right? There's people who have had it a lot worse.
Right.
There's people who have it a lot better.
Right.
But the premise is you take what's in front of you and you either use it for fuel or you use it as an excuse. You know, and at 15, you're having these conversations and you're approaching things in a way that 15-year-olds today don't.
Right.
You know? So all this shapes you into the man you are today. You said you went into like the music, you tried music and art and stuff.
Yeah.
How did you get into from all that? And I guess culinary stuff is art. But I can't cook to save my life, so I'm trying to be respectful.
No, you're good.
Because I'm like distasted by it, no pun intended.
Yeah.
I'm like, how the fuck just people just like look at things and put it together and then a meal?
I mean, if you're getting into those culinary conversations with certain people, yeah, there is an art form to it, right? Like, don't get me wrong, but like, that's what you see now in today's environment, right? So like, now the Food Network and the Guy Fieri's and the, all those people, like, it's out there, it's blown up, it's this glamorous lifestyle, right? But people don't know that like 30 years ago, right? Being a cook was like blue collar. Like, you're dumb, you can't do anything else. Like, so this is what you do, right? I mean, that's just how it was viewed.
I'll have you know, you're looking at a Golden Corral chef right here. Bro. The experience across the table from you. Bro, it was wild. It was like an assembly line for cooking.
And that's what it is. I mean, some of those places, a lot of those corporate places, especially a place like that. And hey, I'm not sponsored by Golden Corral.
I will never tell anyone to go in there.
No, it's atrocious. And like,
I have
I'm
not
sorry.
stepped foot.
And please don't ever again.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
Yeah. I don't even know how it's still open because it's just absurdly disgusting.
I love my mom. Every year for her birthday, she's like, can we go to Golden Corral?
Oh gosh, no.
No.
God, no.
I got money now, Mom.
We can go out.
We going out.
Right.
Golden Corral. She's like, but I want to take the
that's
siblings. I'm like, no.
But that's that mentality, right? That's how she's, you know what I mean? Like, she had to stretch a dollar.
Yeah.
That's just, it's built in her. But like, I don't know. For me, it was, I don't know. I had to do it. It wasn't like I wanted to do it. It was something I had to do. But like, cooking for me came from like my grandmother on my father's side. Right? I didn't know my grandparents on I didn't know my grandmother on my mother's side because she had passed way before I was born. My mother was in college. She died of lung cancer. And like, that was, her and my mom were like tight. Like, that broke my mother's heart. And my mother had a father who was like just evil. Just like my old man was, just an evil, hated her, hated her sister, put him down constantly, like just never had anything positive to say. Like, just terrible person. So
I can never understand men like that.
I can't understand how people, like, we can have that conversation today about if you have children, like, how can you treat children that way regardless? I don't get that at all. Like, I understand as adults, you have those adult conflicts, but as children, like, anyway, we'll digress.
Yeah, we could do a whole other episode,
we'll do a whole other thing about that. But so it's just like, she liked to cook, right? That was something she liked to do with her mother. And then on my father's side, my grandparents both liked to burn it down. Like they're from the South. They're from Georgia, from Camilla, Georgia. So they're way down there, right? And they grew up on a plantation. And this was, early 1900s, right? So, I mean, like, yeah, slavery had been gone for a little bit, but there was still some of that running around down there. And they told me plenty of stories.
The bias.
And they lived on a tobacco plantation down there. And they work out in the fields and cut down tobacco plants, or leaves all day long. They lived in separate houses, my grandparents did. And they were down there as kids. So like I'm talking like my daughter's age, out in the fields working all day long, right? And then when they get to a certain age, they get different jobs. So like my grandmother, when she got to be like 13 or 12, she ended up going up into the main house to be a wet nurse. And then my grandfather at 12, same thing, started to go up into the house to be a cook. And that's how they met. Oh. So then 2 years later, at 14, they were married. Yeah. They were married at 14.
And that was kind of like normal back then, because
it was
everyone. And this is my opinion, right? Because you try to read and understand, like you're in survival mode, right? And when two people go through hell together, there's this bond that's formed that can't nobody really touch. You know what I mean?
It was amazing.
So like I feel like you just like you build that connection, and it's like, dude, we're going through this together. And at that age, unfortunately, 14-year-olds then were treated like 18, 19, 20-year-olds today. They're putting to work. You're not getting treated like a kid. You're not getting approached like a kid.
No, it wasn't. And it wasn't like that from the stories they tell me. Like it was just like you said. Like they were adults just in kid bodies but the kid age, but their mentality wasn't that way. So it was just like you said, that bond. They built that, and you'll hear me talk about a lot, like that foundation. Like they built that at a young age. And then the cooking, right? That was the way they would enjoy themselves. So whatever was left over for them to have from whoever, the master, I guess, or whoever ran the household, right? That's what they do. And that was like what you see on those shows like Chop, like a little of this, a little of that, a little of this, right? Cook it up. Right. They just make it happen. So they brought that with them up north when they moved to Youngstown. And then obviously let's fast forward to me being born. And then every time I'd go visit, like my grandmother and the fried chicken, the cornbread, the collard greens, right? The ham, the turkey, the sweet potato pie, the seven flavor cake, like all of it.
I haven't eaten today yet.
Sorry, I haven't either.
My mouth is watering. Right. I feel like a fiend. The camera don't catch it.
It was amazing. And when we would come up, like she'd cook more, but she'd cook with us because she wanted to spend time with her grandbabies in the kitchen. That's where she felt home. Like that was literally the center of her little tiny house in Youngstown. And my grandfather had like a brick barbecue pit built out back. Like he made it himself. He didn't have no Weber grill back there. It was a brick pit. And he put meats on it and vegetables on it. And like he'd show me how to work the pit with the smoke and the fire and stuff. And had a little garden off to the side. Like, yeah, it was intense, but it was cool. Like I remember being out there and we would stomp grapes for him to make his medicine.
Dude,
but it was really medicine.
You did it yourself.
He didn't drink. Like he wasn't a drinker. So it wasn't like that medicine quote, air quote thing where like, it's just my alcohol. It was medicine. Like he stomped grapes to make wine.
Well, back in the day, that's what.
Yeah.
No, they used to use that, and it would be fermented, and yeah, there's alcohol in there, but the purpose of it then and the purpose of it now,
right?
People have taken it like, well, we can get fucked up off this. Cool. Like right. Robitussin, medicine.
Right. That's what it was.
Trip,
it was basically his homemade version of tussin. Like that's what it was. But that's what we did. That's how we got together in the kitchen there. And then on my mom, like it was just her. She loved to bake. So when we spent time with my mom in the kitchen, like you can be in the kitchen, be up under my feet, but you're gonna work. So it was learn how to make cookies, cakes, pies, whatever it was. So like, trust me, it caught up to me as a kid, man. I was that fat little kid real quick.
My mom was the same way. And my sister can throw down almost as good as my mom. I said almost, mom. She beat my ass. She'll call me right now. I heard that. Right. How'd you hit? Your mom got that sense?
Oh, yeah. Like they got that sixth sense.
But I found out the hack, right? Like I never was like, I loved eating. I didn't care about cooking, right?
Right.
I'd go in and I'd like half-ass things, and she'd get pissed. Get out of my kitchen.
Just do it.
Like, all right, mom, boom. Playing a 64.
Right, you're back up on that 64, like, and it's ready.
She figured out what I was doing.
Right.
So then I had to like clean all the toilets and everything. I'm
right.
like, well, I lost this one. But it's interesting. It's so funny how we grew up in different cultures, different areas. And my mom's Puerto Rican. She's about 5'0" attitude of a 6' grown ass man.
Right.
Like to this day, I raised my hand at her one time to catch her from hitting me. And you'd have thought I beat her because the way she beat me and told all her friends, this motherfucker thinks he a grown ass man hitting me. I was like, I didn't hit you. Now you talking back. I didn't hit you.
Right.
I stopped you
Right.
from hitting me. I'm like, that's abuse. That's abuse. Go call. Go
Right.
call.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude,
Oh, yeah.
I put myself in so many.
Right.
Lovely woman though. I don't even know where I was going with that. But oh yeah, attitude. Like, but she did. Dude, I attribute a lot to my mom. Like, she never finished high school. She was forced to raise her siblings from Puerto Rico, move over here. I had to finish every sheet of homework.
Right.
And like, you think she could help me? No. She didn't speak English, so she's looking at me. She's like, "Is it right?" Yeah, I did my best. Is it right?
Right.
Yes. It better be.
It better be. Right.
Fuck. Shit, dude. An open house, bro. Oh, dude. I know she knows now because my brother, like, he would fuck with me, like, oh yeah, and he'd tell the truth. We'd go to open house, and there's supposed to be no kids, right? Mm-hmm. Well, my mom needed a translator, so I was the translator. Hey, so Ish is he's been struggling with reading. We need to put him into ESL, English as a second language. She said I'm doing very good. She said that she's actually surprised with she's looking at me. She's like, oh, okay.
Right.
And the teacher's like, what'd you tell her? I was like, I told her what you told me. She's looking at my mom's reaction and she's like, is your brother here? He comes in, fucking rat. Right. He's never snitched in his life except for me in school.
Right.
Then he's like, oh yeah, she said this. My mom, first thing she says, and excuse me, she's like, he's not retarded. And my brother's like, that's not what that's not that means.
Yeah. Right. No.
Just
no.
He needs help with English in school.
Right.
And like she couldn't connect the two because of the dude. But all that to say, didn't finish high school. Made sure I did all my homework. Made sure I applied to college. I'm like, you didn't go to college. Why should I go to college? Because you're gonna go to college.
Right.
First generation college. I graduate. I'm a cop, dude. Half my family members are in prison or dead, and like.
Right.
I'm a cop. I have businesses, studios. And my mom's like, so happy. And this is where I was going with this. So I go back over there, right? And like, now I'm a grown ass man. We have this relationship. So she'll say something. I'm like, you better watch how you talking to me. Oh, you think because you a cop I want? I'm like, oh, well, like that. And she like starts to take off the belt. I'm like,
right.
I'm like, I'm kidding. She's like, no, I don't care how big you are. And I'm like, I'm looking down on her. I'm like, Mom, I could destroy you if I wanted to. Like, I know we're kidding. I could fucking wreck you. Do it. I'm like, oh man, sometimes attitude does win.
Right. Yeah.
You're kind of scary still.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Even at this day and age, I wouldn't cross my mother. Like she's hardened. Like I love her to death. Like she is that person that just pushed us and kept us where we needed to be. Like she is. I owe everything to her. Like if it wasn't for her and sacrificing a ton. I mean, a metric shit ton. There's no chance in hell for me or my brother. There would never been.
I literally told my mom, like, you sacrificed your life. Like, she didn't have time for dreams, aspirations, survival. My mom, 2 years ago, moved out of the hood and bought a house in the suburbs of Erie. I was like, you did it. And like she's like, I don't know, it's so quiet outside. Like I'm like, go take a walk around. Like that's what people out here do in the suburbs. They walk around. Like you can walk around the block and say hi to your neighbors. She's like, I don't need to talk to the neighbors. I'm like this is like she's never taken a vacation.
Yeah.
Like when she goes to Puerto Rico, it's to like take care of her family or kind of see them. She doesn't go out. She doesn't go to dinner.
Yeah,
I'm like, you're 50 something and you've never lived a life.
My mother is 74.
Bless her heart.
Still working, right?
What?
Yeah, she's a CPA. Like she went to college, went to Penn State, graduated.
Good school.
Like she started off, went to school out in Colorado, and then her mother got sick, so she came back home to take care of her mother. Mother passed away. She finished up at Penn State, and then that's all she's done is just grind every day. At 74, still grind. She's not retired. She will never retire. Like, she's like a shark. If she stops moving, she's gonna die. Like, and it's sad because
It is sad.
It breaks my heart because she, like you said, she gave up her whole life for her kids, for me and my brother. And like, it hurts now to think about. Like, it's tough. Like,
I think
it's
about that
tough.
a lot, man. I tell, like, I'm trying to do a lot of things, and I never really talk about this, actually. It's probably the first I've ever told anyone, but I do so much, and I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. There's days where I'm ran down, and I'm like, fuck, I need a rest or whatever. People are like, why? You need a break. Why do you keep doing? Why do you keep working? Why do you take on so many projects? Because I will retire my mom. She has no fucking choice in the matter. I will retire my mom. Whether she's 60, 70, there will be a time that I'm going to be like, I know this doesn't amount to anything you've done for me, but this is the small token of my appreciation. Like, because of you,
Yeah.
I'm able to do this for you. And like, that is why I grind so hard. That is why I don't stop. That is why people are like, why are you taking another project? Because I thrive in the chaos. Because I get to pick projects. I get to take days off. My mom never got to do any of that.
I'm with you 100%.
Like
it kills me. Like, she puts it in and still puts it in. I mean, even at mine, like I said, 46, she's still back here, hey, think about this, think about that. Like, you need to do this, you need to do that. And it's not like telling me what to do. It's just, she's never going to stop being my mother.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't talk to my mom for 2 days. I'm on the way down here. She's like, you working? No, I'm on my way to the studio. I got a podcast to film. She's like, damn, you forgot about me. It's been 2 days. I was working those 2 days. I put in 14, 15-hour days.
Right.
She's like, oh, you don't have a mother anymore, huh? I'm just like, Mom, like, it's been 2 days. So I was starting to think you forgot about me. She's like, so what's on the podcast? I'm like, I'm going to tell you, and you're going to have no idea. She's like, well, just tell me. So I'm like, okay, it's a gentleman I've been talking to, and he started this CaNine supplement nutrition company. And she's like, well, what is that? Like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't know. He's going to explain it to me.
Right.
That's why I'm putting him on the show.
Right.
Oh, well, I want to watch it. Like, are you going to understand what? She's like, no, but I'm going to watch it anyway. Like, she watches every one of my episodes. Doesn't have a fucking lick of what's being said, probably. If I'm swearing, she'll know.
Right.
She knows that.
Right.
But, like, no idea.
Right.
She's just, like, in the background cooking. Like,
Right.
Like, she told me the other day, she's like, oh, I was watching your podcast. I'm like, which episode was it? She's like, the one with, so the guy was Ryan Trainer. She's like, the one con el entrenador. She's like, the one with the trainer. I'm like, with the trainer. So I've had a couple like physical trainers on here. So
Right.
I'm like, and I'm saying names. She's like, no, Ryan entrenador. I'm like, Ryan Trainer? Mom, that's his name. He's
Not a trainer.
I mean, I guess he does train because he does like self-defense stuff, but
Right.
she's like, oh, I thought he was a trainer. I'm like, did you watch? Like, what were you listening to? But
That's funny.
so let's get to the good stuff. So you all this stuff, you grew up cooking because of your grandparents and all this. And what led you to go above and beyond and be like, you know what? I've had a hard life. It's been tough. I want to make it harder. I want to start a company. And not only a company, like you're the only guy I know in this industry.
It's crazy because the industry is huge. Like, it's an $86 billion a year industry, pet nutrition.
And
dog food.
how many companies, like, what are the top players in this? Like, you say fitness, right? Like the supplement industry in the fitness world.
Right.
I can name 100, 200 companies off the top of my head. But like in that industry, like, is it like is it majority owned by like dominant players? Or
Oh,
is there
yeah.
a lot of,
I mean, you've got your Purinas, you got Nestle, you've got those big conglomerates that have their hands in about 82 other things, and pet food's one of them. And then you have some of these new players like the Farmer's Dog. You have Stella and Chewy that have been around for a little bit, so who have kind of gravitated more of the fresh side of things or raw side of things, but they still have the traditional kibble. So you have players in the market, but you have all these little pockets of things, right? And it's oversaturation. Everybody think, like being a chef, everybody thinks they can do it now, right? Everybody watches the Food Network. Everybody watches whatever they see, right? Podcasts, YouTube videos. I can do that, right? When you used to come into my kitchen and came with all that bullshit noise, I was like, I don't need to do anything but fucking peel 100 pounds of potatoes in the next 20 minutes because I've got 400 guests coming through that door in the next 2 hours. Get the shit done. And they're like,
I'm better than this.
oh, attitudes. Because
Was ego big in the kitchen?
So when I came up in the kitchen, it was based on the military, rank and file. Like Escoffier was this French general back in the day. That's how he ran things. That's how he ran a kitchen. Like that's why you have your chef, your sous chef, your garde manger, all these different roles. Just like in the department, you have your chief,
it makes sense.
Captain, sergeant. Everybody has their role to play. Then you're down to the base, right? When you start off in the kitchen, you're a bitch, right? You do all the shit that chef and everybody else isn't going to do. But it teaches you that foundation and it gives you that skill set, right? If you're in the military, if you're infantryman, right? You learn all those basic skill sets and then you can go off to a specialized school, right? Then you learn some more specialized things in that school and then you can go ahead and move on to something else. And as you go through that, you'll build your rank up. You'll go from a corporal, private to a corporal, to a lance corporal, to whatever it is, right? Sergeant, master sergeant, whatever, captain, you name it, you'll get there. That's how it worked in the kitchen. So when I came in the kitchen, like I was that bitch. I was a private, right? You got to literally earn your stripes. And when you get to that point, right, then you start having to give that back to somebody else. So now let's fast forward. I've been in the kitchen for, let's call it 6 years. I've earned some of my stripes. Still don't know enough, right? But know enough to run part of the kitchen. And when you have to take on the newbies that come in, right? And now you have that new influence that I didn't have, right? The culinary shows, the glitz and the glam and I can do this, right? And I tell you, hey, I need you to tournay those carrots. And they're like, and they all went to culinary school, so they're all fancy and they got their chef toques on, they're all pretty. And then looking at the rest of us and we're just grimy. Like I've been here for 14 hours today, bro, and you just got here. What are you talking about, chef? Like I came in at 4 a.m. Where were you? You were still sleeping. Like it's now 6.
Because your only role is to, would you say tournay?
Yeah, it's a fancy style. Yeah.
I'm learning French. Is that French?
Yeah, it's French.
Because your job is to tournay these damn carrots.
Right.
From 8 to 4. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. I remember the first kitchen I walked in and the chef's like, it's like, oh, you're a big, strong dude. Great. Go grab those 50-pound bags of potatoes. All those you need to peel them. I looked at those bags of potatoes. There was 10 of them there.
That'd be a lot of peeling.
500 pounds of potatoes. And guess what? He didn't give me a peeler. I had to do it with a paring knife. Yeah. My hands were
that one.
Yeah.
Dude, but yeah.
There was a point to it, though. There was a point to teach my hands to give them the strength, right? To start using a knife, not to cheat and use a peeler.
Dude, there's so many lessons you can learn in the kitchen, man. Like I watched, Gordon Ramsay?
Yeah. I make him cry, by the way.
I believe it. He's a glamour chef. I like him if he's listening, which he's not. But if ever in the future, if I ever make it big, don't get offended. But there's a rhyme or reason to his yelling that people like you can understand being in the military, being in LEO, being in any organized sport, like something that requires to get a lot of pieces and have them move how you need them to move, right? Because as a chef, let's say head chef, you're almost like the chief, right? Like you've done your time, you know the ins and outs, and now your job is delegation because your vision is still going to come out so long as it's delegated appropriately. And by delegating appropriately, you need to entrust people in certain roles and certain positions, right? Like if the potatoes don't get peeled, they don't go to the next process, and then they don't go to that, and then you don't have the finished product.
Correct. That's exactly what it is.
And I think ego and we see that in policing with some of the new generation coming up. Like, hey, go run traffic. I'll run traffic. I didn't ask if you do it. I'm telling you to. So as of today, you do run traffic because that's what you're going to go do. And I'm in a position where I like to know why, but I also do what I'm told when I'm told because I understand there's a bigger picture I may not understand. So like I'm in that middle, and I try to tell the old heads like, bro, if the younger generation asks for a why, just give them a why real quick. Like You don't got to elaborate and explain yourself, and they don't have to agree.
Right.
But some of these people, some of these I don't want to say kids, but
No.
some of these kids, they just need that little why, and then they'll do it. No questions asked.
Right.
Others are asking why to like challenge you, and that's a whole different thing you have to navigate. But so like I'm trying to mediate between both. I'm telling them like, hey, if you're told to do something, especially if like we're in a critical incident, like don't worry about the why. And after
Right.
action report, ask all your whys you want. You know, if we're in roll call and they tell you to do something, you're like, hey, what's up with that? Okay, there's time you can maybe ask. And then if they don't give you that answer, that's it. Don't ask again. Just go do it. If they do give you that answer, cool. That's awesome. Speaks volumes on who they are.
Right.
And I tell the old heads, if they ask for the why, give them a why.
Yeah.
If they continue to push back, I gave you the why. Now go do it.
Right.
Right. So it's like trying to balance in the kitchen. If you don't have if you don't have time to be dealing with all that shit. Either.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like they're like kitchens are high energy. You know, just stress.
Any
A lot of-
Ricans in your kitchen?
Any what?
Puerto Ricans in your kitchen?
In my travels, no, I never had any Puerto Ricans.
Thank
in my-
God.
No, Mexicans. I had a group of Mexicans, and then I had a large group of Asian people, and they were from all walks of Asian culture. A lot of Chinese, Vietnamese, and I learned a lot.
Bro, when I worked, it was all Puerto Ricans.
Yeah.
And like, I like to call myself like, I'm not as Puerto Rican as people like. I'm like a chill Rican. I call myself a chilla Rican because you know I don't put the flag on my car, and if you do, that's okay.
Right.
I don't bump music
Right.
at 100.
Right.
You know, sometimes I do, but like you know, sometimes he
Right.
comes out of play, and sometimes
Right.
he don't.
Right.
Dude, when we were in that kitchen, bro, like everyone's screaming. I'm like, oh, dude, y'all stressing me the fuck out, and I'm one of y'all. I can imagine the manager walking by. Dude, the one time the manager walks in, he's like, "Is everything okay?" And everyone like stops and like, "What?
Right.
You need something?" They're like, "Is everything okay?" I'm cooking, Dave. Don't fuck with me when I'm cooking. Go and then, like,
Right.
And Dave's just like he
Right.
starts walking. But that's just how they communicate. Everyone's screaming, everyone's yelling, "Hey, pass me this, slamming pots, but it was like controlled chaos, right? Because
It
everyone
is.
had their role. Like you had the one dude who was just condensing, and this is why I don't fuck with Golden Crown. Condensing the bar, right? Like putting every old food on new food. And dude.
No, that's a no. The health inspector that's a big critical.
Dude, but when they came,
everything was perfect. Everything looked great. Everything
Oh.
was 40 degrees. Everything's fresh.
the chicken was above the fish, or
Yeah,
vice versa.
yeah.
However, supposed
Chicken was
to be.
on the bottom
Yeah.
shelf. Then there was fish. Then there's beef.
Dude, everything
right,
was
the
in roll.
Yeah.
We had the sanitation bucket. And everything
Clean
was-
rag. Nothing's in it. Yeah, I remember those days. Yes.
It's so funny. He knows. Like every time I talk to people about that, they're like,
What?
dude? I'm
Oh,
not
no,
sure.
bro.
I'm like, dude, it is strict in the kitchen.
Like
and
it's a
back
protocol. Like the health inspectors come in, man. Like it's like a fire drill. Everybody knows what they're supposed to. And I hate to say that. Like I don't care what restaurant. It's like every restaurant I've ever been in had a protocol when the health inspector was on their way. Like
We had an A team.
yeah. Oh yeah.
We had an A team, and on the
Yep.
inspection days, the A team worked.
Yep. We had the same thing. I shit you not. I had it. We called it the A. Had the A team and the B squad. B squad would get things done during the lunch shift because it wasn't so crazy. A squad worked the busy shifts on the weekend, Friday, Saturday nights, and then when we knew the health inspector was coming, A team was
Yeah,
working.
that's so funny.
Every time.
From like Golden Corral to
yeah,
whatever.
man, it didn't matter. I mean, I've done fine dining, I've done corporate. Like it's all one and the same. Like it doesn't matter. But again, like you're right. Like there's ego with stuff, and you have to break it down, and it happens.
So what made you want to start a company outside of the food industry? It would be easy.
No.
Easier. Like it's very niche. Actually, first off, what made you start a company?
Okay.
And two,
It's a
what
layered
behind
question.
the name? Yeah, like what?
I'll give it.
I'm a businessman, so I like to know the ins and outs. I don't know if people do, but like I like to know the why. Like why'd you start, and then why the name?
Yeah. So why's big with me. Like I have everything I do, I try to have a why. Like there's a why to my life. There's a why to what I'm doing over here. There's a why to what I'm doing over here. Like, so that's where I start with everything first. Like, why do I want to do this? So to answer your first question, like, why did I want to start a business? Because I wanted to do something for us, my family, right? Like I was tired of doing it for other people, right? And in this culture, in this today's world, like it's out there, like it's actually attainable. Like you don't have to have pockets and pockets and pockets full of money to start a business. Like you have to have an idea and some drive and then figure it out. Yeah, money helps. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of startups that come up with a ton of money. It depends on what you do. But again, like you can do it. Like if you put the work in and you grind enough, you believe in what you're doing, you can do it.
I heard someone say the money's printed. Now you just got to go get it. I'm like, so it's on me.
It is. I mean,
on you.
It's on you. And the other thing is if you are too worried about the result and not the process, you're never going to get that result. Like if you're everybody, when they start a business, their first thing is, I want to make money, right? Well, no shit.
Yeah,
I'm not doing shit for free. Like ultimately, if you truly believe in something, have a passion, yes, you would do it for free. Like what I'm doing now with my wife, like this business, if I could do it for free, I would, because it's that important to me. It really genuinely is. Like I have a genuine passion for it. But am I doing it for free? Fuck no. Like it's just common sense. Like I'm doing this and I want to make a living in it, but that's not my goal. Like that's a result of the work, right? Just like if you go to the gym and you work out. Like some people work out at the gym because they want to look aesthetically pleasing or they want to fill a void in their life, whatever it is. For me, it's just capability and function, right? I want to be mobile. I want to be functioning, able to move when I'm 85 years old, right? But the result of that may be, hey, I lose 10 pounds. Hey, I get bigger biceps. Hey, I can do the pec dance if I want to, right? Hey, that's a result. That's a byproduct of the work.
That's the thing. I tell people, like, because they're like, what diet do you follow? It's like, I'm not really strict on a diet. Like, I train hard. I mind what I eat.
Right.
Like, because to me, my focus is what I'm doing in the gym. Like, what I'm building, I want to be, and this may sound fucked up, I want to be a deadly ass dude. So the way I train reflects that. Like I do range training, I do jiu-jitsu, I train defensive tactics, I train with knives, I train with guns while I'm fighting. My goal is to be a lethal fucking guy. And how I train in the gym reflects that. Like, will I get abs? Sure, if that's what my training leads to.
Right, exactly.
Like I want to have a strong core. If abs come, sweet.
Right,
I
right.
haven't had abs since I was like 15.
Right.
Awesome.
But if they don't, it doesn't matter.
They
like
don't,
I'm getting what I need out of this. It's the same thing with
Dude,
me.
I'm
like,
on a call yesterday, and it's a serious call, but I'll make light of the situation because the woman was very, like, she was joking. She was like 60 or 70, and she's super sweet. Like, we're out there. I'm in short sleeves. Everyone else is in jackets and long sleeves, but I run hot. So I just have my hands in my vest, and I'm talking with her, and she's like, I have my father's jacket if you would like it. And then she like looks at me like this. She goes, "Oh no, sweetheart, your arms won't fit in there." And I was like, and everyone's like, "Oh, don't inflate his head."
Right.
I was like,
right.
"Hey, the lady said it, not me."
Right.
I'm like, "Ma'am, thank you for the jacket, but
Right.
I appreciate it. I like to being in the cold."
No,
But I'm looking at everyone like, I know y'all heard what she said about these arms. Dude, I felt so good. I was just like, all right, my work's paying. Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Ish, and welcome to the Relentless Project, where we dive deep into the stories of those who push boundaries and break limits. I just want to take a second to shout out a few companies who've believed in me. These were one of our first official sponsors, so huge shout out. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Carbo Jewelers, established in 1997 on the values of honesty and integrity. Whether you're searching for the perfect piece, need expert repair services, visit Carbo Jewelers in Newark's Ironbound District, where your jewelry is always in safe hands. This episode is also brought to you by Continental Jewelers, proudly serving Hudson County, New Jersey since 1964. Whether you're seeking a timeless piece or need expert repairs, they've got you covered. Visit Continental Jewelers, your trusted source for all things jewelry. You can find them on Instagram at Carbo Jewelers or online at carbojewelers.com. Lastly, big shout out to Carbo Trading. Besides coins, precious metals, and jewelry, if it could be traded and collected, he's probably got it. They can be found on Instagram at carbo.trading. You can find all of our sponsors out online on our sponsor page at therelentlessproject.com. Now let's get started with this week's episode.
I mean, that's the thing. Like I said, I had a big health scare years ago that I didn't take serious. I almost died. I had a blood clot in my renal artery.
Dude, that's a fear of mine.
I woke up in the ICU. Like, I remember not feeling good, and I remember going to the hospital, and then I remember coming to, and like my mom was there, and like my wife was there, and this was before my daughter was born, and that was it. And then the next thing I know, I'm in the ICU with tubes and all kinds of shit going on. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And then they explained it to me. I'm like, how's that happen? Like, I sit in the office all day long. Like, they asked me like, hey, are you in the military? Are you a police officer? Like, were you in an explosion somewhere in a nasty car accident? Because that's how that kind of stuff happens. I'm like, no, I sit in a chair in an office. Like, no idea what happened to me. So fast forward, right? Like, pandemic happens. My daughter's been born. And like, I put on the baby weight, and I'm large. I'm pushing like 330 almost at this point. Like, biggest ever been in my life. I'm like, I got to do some shit about myself. So I start pandemic buying. I bought a heavy bag. I bought stuff to try to start learning how to do Muay Thai. Like, I bought a weight bench. So I go down there in the garage with YouTube videos and try to figure out how to do Muay Thai and fuck my back up. I'm like, all right, I'm done with that shit. Like I really got into it, and it was something I wanted to do. And I started doing it for like a month, and then I ended up doing a kick on the 200-pound heavy bag, and like the shit tweaked the wrong way.
That's all it takes.
And I was done. And I was like, fuck it, whatever.
So I got to do jiu-jitsu.
Well, I've been trying to get there. That's one of my things I want to check off my list. I've been trying to get to it for 2 years, but we'll get to that. So it turned into a thing where it was like I heard somebody, and I come across a group of dudes, online, and it wasn't like a training thing. It was just like-minded individuals. Like, I was looking for something to do hobby-wise. I was looking to get back into shape. I didn't know what to do. I was just lost, right? And he said something one time, and he was like, hey, man, like, it could be, one day or day one. And it stuck with me. I'm like, thought about that. He's like, think about it. It can be, one day or day one. And it kept sticking with me. And I was like, I like that shit. Like,
I need to put that on a t-shirt.
Yo, hey, wait. So I got up one day, and I went out to my garage, and I grabbed one of those fucking 82 pieces of shit equipment I bought for pandemic training, right? And it was a sandbag. Picked it up, and I went outside, and I was like, it was like February. It was cold as fuck outside. Freeze on the ground. My wife's in her office downstairs working. I'm outside on the stone pad in the backyard. I just started doing burpees. I was like, if I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to go the fuck in. Like, I'm not going to, dance around the issue or whatever. I'm just going all in. I did burpees for like 20 minutes till I threw up all over myself. And my wife came out, and she's like, you okay? I'm like, I'm good. Kept going. I kept going. And I basically collapsed. Like, and she's like, do I need to call an ambulance? I was like, I'm good. And I picked myself up, and I went in the house. I was like, all right, day one. And then I went out, and I did it again. And I did it again. And then I did it again and again and again and again. And then I added things to it. And now my daughter's watching me do this, right? Because mommy had already been on her grind for a year on the Peloton. Like, she was smashing that thing. Like, she was up every day, 6 a.m., getting on the thing, just smashing it. And I was like, this is a year later. I'm like, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I do this?
Did you see that? And you're like, I'm supposed to be the example.
Right. So it's like, and our daughter's watching us, right? Like, she is a hawk on everything. And now I see it in her. Like, she is like us. Like, she understands fitness. She understands eating properly. Like, you won't catch my daughter eating McDonald's or Taco Bell. Like she will once every 4 months. She'll say, can I get Taco Bell? Sure. I tell you what, we're so busy in our household with her running around. Like, it's 8 o'clock at night on a Tuesday coming home from softball practice. We're not stopping at Chick-fil-A or the drive-thru. She's waiting until we get home. Like, I'm not eating any of that trash. Or we'll be out on the weekend running around and she'll be hungry. She's like, Daddy, can we get oysters? No shit. Like, we'll go get oysters fresh. We'll shuck them at home. She's like, I don't want them to shuck them. I'll shuck them myself. And we'll smash 2 dozen oysters, her and I. Smash them. Raw, like, no hot sauce. She'll put a little lime juice on it and get to it.
This is for the baby.
She's a beast. Like, but that's the precedent we set for her. Like, that's how it is. So again, back to the whole day one day or day one. So that's where the company came from. It was, I keep thinking about this. I keep thinking about it. I keep thinking I want to start something, right? No, I got up in a January morning, like, it's day one. Got on the computer, typed in what I wanted for the company name to be, LLC. It's done. It takes 5 minutes.
Which is?
CaNine. all it is. Clean nutrition is what we do, but it's canine, and that's where we're at. So,
Dude, that is, and then little things like the C
yeah.
and the N being capitalized. Like I thrive off shit. Like I love
Yes.
it when I typed canine and you corrected me. You're like, hey, that N needs to be corrected because it's clean nutrition. I'm like, oh, this is fire.
Right.
Like I uppercased it one letter. It's like,
But
oh.
that's that artistic side of me. Like that's that
can
little nuance
appreciate
to
it.
detail. Like it means something.
What industry did your wife come from, if you don't mind me asking?
So my wife's still in the same industry. So she's in dental. So she was a dental hygienist for years, and then she transitioned over now, and like she's a monster at what she does. Like she's a consultant. Like she actually works for a pediatric dental practice now, and they have like 4 or 5 offices. And he kind of oversees the whole thing. But
So why dog nutrition?
so we both have like a lot of different little things we wanted to do, right? Like I'm off the food train, but she always wanted to do a food truck. And I was like, I'm not messing with that. Like I'm not, because it looks glamorous and it looks fun, but you saw what I went through, right?
I had a guy on here.
You don't want that.
Secretos. He owns Secretos. They started as a food truck.
Yeah.
And the nightmares he told me on and off. I'm like, fuck, did you see them things popping up all over Lawrenceville and everyone, like, it's all cool. They got their social media. Dude, it's fucking hell.
Brutal. So I was like, no. And then we've had other concepts for like things in her realm with dental, and she's still got ideas that she wants to get out there, but those take serious money and serious like engineering skills to get those off the ground. And we just are still trying to find resources for that, right? Like that's something that we will do down the road. But we both love dogs. Like it's just an inherent thing. And for us, it's like we've had dogs our whole life, right? People we've known had dogs. And what happens is you get attached to your dog, right? But then your dog gets sick usually and it dies. It sucks. It's miserable. It's painful to watch, right? I've watched it too many times. So we had our first dog together, which was a Cane Corso. And he was amazing. Like we loved him. You know, it was great. First time with the breed. My wife had always heard about the breed and kind of wanted one. I'd never heard of the breed, but I was like, let's do this. And friends of ours accidentally had puppies. We got one from them and we're like, wow, this is an amazing dog. They're beautiful. They're majestic. They're strong, right? Fast forward to 8 years, he gets sick, right? He's having problems in the house. He's trembling. He's shaking. He's pissing and shitting all over the place. And we're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what's going on with you? Like, why is this? And it took us a month to like finally go see somebody, right? Like we kind of figured it was like, maybe he's just getting old and something else, like, or maybe he's just irritated with us because we're so busy. We're not home as much, right? Take him, get the blood work done, prostate cancer. I'm like, damn. And I felt terrible. I was like, oh, buddy, like, I didn't know, right? And like, the vet's like, you got 2 choices. You can pump him full of a bunch of drugs and spend $25,000 and we can perform surgery on him and try to save him, or you can put him down now.
Why is that always the fucking only two choices?
And that's always fucking bothered me, like straight up. Like, why is there always only 2 fucking choices, right? I went through this with Rescue Dog, best friend of mine. Dog's name is Rudy. Same shit. He spent the money. Only gave Rudy like 2-3 more months. Miserable. We had to put him down, right? So I was like, fuck this. Like, I got to do something better. And this is stuff I thought about over time, like with nutrition and dogs and everything else, just being a chef, right? Understanding how food works and like getting a healthier lifestyle for myself. I'm like, this needs to translate to dogs. I'm like, yes, you see the movement out there with fresh food or fresh cooked food, or, you know, you don't see too much raw in the public eye because it's kind of the behind the scenes thing, or like that, you know, subculture that you don't really see out there, which it shouldn't be, but it should be out there, which is why we're here. But yeah, I was like, so I started doing a bunch of research on my own, like, and you can get inundated with stuff on the internet, like what to believe, what not to believe. But I just cut all the noise and said, let's go to basics, right? Let's go to the foundation. Like, what's food, right? Let's start with the basics. What is nutritious? What do we need to eat as people, right? Okay. Then I started when I looked at wolves, right? Like wolves and dogs share about 98, 99% the same genetics, right? Not much difference. I started researching that, making phone calls to zoos, checking out things, figuring out how they feed their animals there. They're in captivity. They're dogs in captivity, right? Like, oh, so they feed them a little of this, a little of that. How long they live? Oh, 18, 19 years. I was like, what the fuck? Like, repeat that. Oh yeah, man. Like wolves, you feed them right, they will live a long life in here, right? There's no threat. Like they're an alpha. There's no threat to them in nature.
And think of that. They're not really getting the physical exertion that
Right. I
wolves
mean, it's
need, and the stimulus that they need, and that hunting that kind of keeps people alive.
Right.
Like this is 18, 19 years in captivity.
right. 13, 14 years in the wild, right? So a wild gray wolf lives 13, 14 years, right? There's no vets out there. There's no, kibble company out there. There's none of that.
Take your daily supplements. Yeah.
Right. There's none of that. That wolf tracks down whatever it wants to eat, gets it, and then eats it. Right. So then I started from there, and I was like, okay. So I got those two bases down. Now, what do they eat? Like, yeah, okay, they eat deer, rabbits, whatever they can get their hands on, right? Usually medium to large prey. How do they eat the prey? Like, what do they eat? Because when we go to the store and buy stuff, we want chicken breast, we want filet, we want this, that, and the other.
98% beef.
Right, blah, 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 right? What the fuck does a wolf say? Like, it doesn't do that shit. It's like, all right, I find the softest part of that animal, right? Let's call it a deer, stomach, rip it wide open, and eat everything inside there first. Everything. Heart, liver, lungs, spleen, stomach, intestines, all that shit that you think is nasty, that wolf, it's superfood, dude. Like, it doesn't need the filet cuts. It doesn't need the top round. It doesn't need
salt, the pepper.
It don't need any of that shit. It does eventually.
That's interesting. I never thought of
But
that.
organ meats are the most nutritious part of that animal. It's the most nutrient dense, right? It's superfood. These wolves live just fine. So I was like, well, shit. I can get this stuff. Like, I was a chef. I know where to go find this stuff at. Like, I can go to the grocery store, but that's not really where I want to go. I can go to a butcher. I can go to a farm. I can figure this out, right? What do you do with your guts? Throw them away. I'll take them.
That is right.
Now, and a lot of times they'll sell them overseas because it's a part of other cultures' diets, right? It's not a typical part of our culture. It's not. It should be. If you read about it, you really should be eating more
Well,
organ
you
meats.
see, Liver King made his whole identity on
We ain't going there.
eat. I know, but I'm saying there was a lot of addition.
Yeah.
A lot of additional supplements.
Yeah.
But he did make his image on eating like liver and spleen, and from there we saw a culture of like people who followed now to an extreme.
Right.
But I started reading into that, and I'm like, oh man, like bone marrow. They're so
And it's good.
Yeah, I've never had. I can't say I've had it.
I'll have to make it for you sometime.
Dude, I can't say I've had
It's
it.
delicious.
Dude, the chef.
It's delicious.
My mom taught me a very valuable lesson. You never say no when someone offers you a meal.
I got you.
It's like if you did that to her, she would beat my ass. So I tell people like, no, just take it, just throw it away after. Don't let her see. But like, you can't say no to her food.
Right, right.
This is her extending an olive branch. But I started diving in the rabbit hole, and I'm like, dude, there's so much nutrition in the stuff we avoid as a culture.
Well, it's because it's not glamorized. It's not, it's not what you're used to. It's different, right? And I think all the way back to my grandparents, right? So let's go back all the way what I talked about before, right? They would live on that plantation, right? And that's what they would eat. Chitlins, heart, right? Brains, tongue, all that shit that the people in the house don't eat. They're eating all the good stuff. My grandparents left eating that shit. I remember being a kid cleaning chitlins. It sucks. It is shit. You are squeezing shit out of intestines, right? But then when you think about it, like, well, that animal that ate all that nutritious stuff, it's in there.
That's where it passes through.
It passes through. It's absorbed. It's bioavailable in that animal, right? Well, when wolves eat that same stuff, now it's more bioavailable in them, and they have a healthier diet without any thinking, right? So then I'm like, well, if I feed that to my dog, won't he take on some of that nutrition? And you can read things, and vets, for the most part, right, they are backed by big corporation.
Well, that's not.
We're not going there either. But at the
Dude,
same time, they'll tell you it's not okay to do. Your dog's going to get sick. They're going to get salmonella. They're going to get this, whatever. Well, okay. Dogs don't get salmonella, number one. Doesn't happen, right? They're just built different than us. Their stomach acid is like 5 times stronger than ours. So they eat raw chicken, and it's no big deal. You and I eat it. You can train yourself to not be prone to that, but it takes a lot of practice.
You're gonna get sick in the process. Okay, that makes sense.
You can get sick in the process, but you can train yourself not to get sick anymore. Like
you build like
you build a tolerance.
Okay, tolerance.
You can build a tolerance. You absolutely want to. I've seen it with my own eyes. Right.
Makes sense.
So that's the thing. So I was like, and the vets tell you no. I was like, well, I go to the grocery store and buy raw chicken and raw products all the time and cook at home, and I'm not sick as long as I prepare it. As long as I prepare it correctly. For me, I'm a human, right? But dogs don't need that preparation, right? So when you cook the food down for the dog, right, you're cooking out a ton of the nutrition that it needs, that it is able to process and be bioavailable to them. For us, like, we don't need as much raw, right? Because we're not built to handle that. But we get enough bioavailability from the food we eat. It was prepared correctly if we eat the right kinds of foods. So I read some more. I read some more. I read some more. I was like, let's do this. So I went and started getting, organ meat, liver, hearts, whatever I get my hands on. I started feeding to my dog, to Leo. He took to it like he didn't even waste his time. He was just like, smashed his first bowl. I was like, this is awesome. Started reading about goat's milk too and the properties of that, so I got him some of that stuff, right? Poured it in his bowl, smashed it, right? Now, I've been watching my dog struggle take a shit for like a month, right? Because he had prostate cancer, so they'll push him back there. He can't. He's out there doing one of those. I'd say after day 2, right, after eating 4 meals, because I fed him twice a day, I swear to God, that dog looked at me and dead in my eyes from the yard and was like, good look, bro. Thank you. He took a clean dump. Like, he didn't struggle. There was no blood in it. It was just normal. And I was like, and then he started to perk up. He started to act like he used to. He wanted to play. He wanted to go for walks. There were no more accidents in the houses. Like, he had life in his eyes again. I just kept feeding him this way. Now, don't get me wrong. I still kept some kibble in his diet because I didn't want him to be not nutritionally incomplete, because I knew what I was doing wasn't a complete meal, as they say. But I was giving him something better, right, than just dry whatever it was. And we fed him.
And that's your positioning too,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're not replacing
No.
meals. You're adding what's
Right.
the things that are needed, kind of like supplements for humans, right? Like, if you just drink protein shakes all day,
Right.
that is not the best.
No.
But if you supplement your diet and meals with a protein shake, you're upping your protein intake. That's that goal.
That's the exact mentality I had, because that's what I was doing with myself, right? I take my 5 milligrams of creatine every day, right? There's proven benefit to it, right? It's part of my supplemental routine. I try to eat clean every day, right? I pay attention to what I'm doing. Okay. If I can do that for my own personal dog and I can see the results, right? Why can't I do that for every other dog? Right? Why can't we can't stop what's going to happen, right? It's still inevitably going to be there. There's still going to be disease. Like, I'm not trying to cure cancer, but what I'm trying to do is give them an other alternative than when the vet says you either do A or you do B. Like, well, fuck that. How about C? How about we do this? How about, from when I was reading things, there was another thing that stuck with me, and it was like, they're going to die, right? But I want them to die well. That's all I want. Same thing I want for myself. As a human being, like, I don't want to die in a home somewhere where I can't take care of myself. I don't want to die of me not being able to function and have motor skills to do what I need to do in the day, right? I want to die well. Now, granted, I could go out and get smacked by a bus tomorrow, and I can't control that.
It's a good way to put it.
I can't control that, right? I could get jumped and mugged and stabbed to death. I can't control that, right? But what I can control is what I put in my body, right? So it's not fair to my family, and it's not fair to the people I love if I keep shoveling shit in myself every day, right? Because I'm not giving myself the best chance. Same thing with my dog. It's not fair to my dog because my dog doesn't have free will. Like, my dog can't say, fuck you, I'm not eating that today. I'm going to go get myself something else. It can't go out.
I'm getting takeout.
Right. It can't go out like the wolf does and go hunt something down. It's stuck to whatever you give it. So why not give it a better choice, right? I'm not in the position of, you got to go all raw or only kibble. It's like, I don't care which way you feed, right? Add this to their diet. If you're a strictly raw feeder, you're going to be adding this in there anyhow. So instead of you having to source it all, I have it for you. If you're a kibble feeder and you don't know much about raw, okay, well, I'm not telling you to jump over to that side right now. I'm saying, hey, let's back off some of that dry stuff they're eating. Let's add this fresh nutritional stuff and then that superfood in moderation, right? Supplement, not a complete meal, right? To their diet every day or at least 3 times a week. And let's see if there's an improvement. So I started monkeying with things, and trying to figure it out with my dog. What did work, what didn't work. And like people, there's not one thing, right?
Yeah, everyone's body's reacting.
Everybody's react differently. And he had good and bad with everything else. Fast forward 7 months. He's still great. You wouldn't look at my dog and know he was sick. Had no clue unless I told you. Now, granted, we take him to get him tested like once a month, see where his blood was at, see where the cancer was at. And it was still there. It wasn't going to go away. But he had life. Like, he was himself again. And so, yeah, we had the vet come out to the house, and it was tough. Like, we had to, we had to say our goodbyes. But I looked at him and I told him, like, you went on your own terms, boy. Like, we fought this fight together, and we did what we could. We gave you the best chance at living the best life you possibly could have with this disease, right? And that's where I was at with it. So then for me, it was a matter of how can I get this in every household? How can I help all these other people who don't, or like me, who don't know where to go? Like, they don't want to hear that from the vet. Like, I'm either going to spend 30 grand to fix my dog.
Maybe.
And it's maybe. Right? Just like humans. You're going to spend $250K on chemotherapy. And yes, there have been some advances in some areas, but still, inevitably, like, look at dementia. There's no cure for it, right? But they tell you to do things now to try to help.
Or so they say.
Right. But
No,
again,
but
they tell you to do things that try to prevent that from happening or mitigate the chance of it happening, right? Like, what happens when you get sick? What's the rest of the world do when you get sick? They go get orange juice, right? I'm going to start drinking orange juice because I'm sick. Well, dumbass, you should have been drinking the orange juice before to build the immune system up so you don't get sick. Or when you do get sick, it's not as bad or you recover better. It's always reactive, not proactive. So same thing with dogs. Typically with German Shepherd dogs, right? Hip dysplasia is a big thing. Joint issues, right? It's just part of the breed. When that happens with people and their dogs, the first thing they run out and do, because they start seeing signs, is they go get glucosamine and chondroitin pills. Most of those pills are synthetic, right? You don't know it could be made in China, it could be made in Bangladesh, it doesn't really matter, right? It could say, but it's not wholesome, right? You can feed your dog chicken gizzards. You can give him chicken wings. You can give him chicken feet.
Don't tell my dog that motherfucker gonna start trying to get all
chicken
gourmet
feet,
meals
right?
now.
No, but chicken feet, like you would feed your dog 2 chicken feet every other day, and it's just the same, if not better. There's more glucosamine and chondroitin in it than in those pills you buy for X amount of dollars, right? $25, $30. I've seen up to 50. I've seen 75.
I've seen 60 for.
It's crazy.
For 30. No, what do they say? For 30 pills.
Yeah.
And then it's 2 pills a serving. You're like,
right.
So I got 15 days?
Right. And that's where it was for me. So the food guy in me, food costs, breaking things down, understanding that it needs to be accessible, right? But it also needs to be affordable, right? It needs to be reasonable, right? When you do this fresh food movement with your dog, unless your dog's 30 pounds or smaller, unless you're loaded, it is not a feasible thing to do financially. It is not.
Bro, I saw this video online, how I feed my dog. I'm promised she was a $75. Like, she had chicken feet and then this. You ever seen those videos online?
Oh, yeah, bro.
I'm
They
like,
got it's this beautiful
dude, I'm like,
bowl
ain't no way you're feeding your dog that every day.
And people don't have time, energy, or effort to deal with all that and source all that, right? Unless that's what you do and you have money and time in your hands. You're trying to be an influencer or whatever the case
I guess
is.
that makes sense. I was pissed. I'm like, this is a lie.
So for us, it was like, I see the value in it, right? So I started tinkering with it, and I started talking to people that, like Penn State, like experts in like agriculture and food, like that side of things, not just restaurant stuff. And they started talking to me about giving me good resources and people who to reach out to, like, how can I source this on a large scale? How can I get it produced? This, that, and the other. Turns out I'm working with a guy out in New Wilmington who's great. He's got a family-owned business, had it for years. He's like one of the few in the industry of like a slaughterhouse and a butcher that has 2 licenses. So you can actually slaughter an animal at his place and produce a product out of it. You don't usually have that, which means...
Why not? Because it makes sense.
A, it can get very expensive, and B, a lot of times, like, they don't want to do both because they don't have a market for it, right? So he's one of 2 in Pennsylvania. Most people are one or the other.
So it's by choice.
It's by choice.
Okay.
It's by choice. Like, you can have a slaughterhouse and bring in cattle and break them down and get rid of the guts and send those larger cuts, those primals down to the butcher that you're used to seeing, right? The butcher, which not the butcher anymore. They just break down things for commercial cuts, like the fillets, the tenderloins, all that stuff you see in the grocery store, right? And you go to the meat market, but they didn't actually go get the cow. Somebody else slaughtered the cow for them and then brought it to their place, and then they put it up on a table and bandsawed it down and cut it all up and made it look pretty. That's it. So I work with this guy. He's great. So we test ran a couple things and figured some stuff out, and it took about a year. And that's where we're at now. And like, it took a year to come up with like 2 products.
What are the products? What are you guys offering right now?
So right now there's only 3 products we offer, and it's 2 of the raw nutritional blends. One is a compilation of lamb, beef, and chicken, and then there's the others that have reached out to me that said, "Hey, we're starting to see a lot of red meat allergies with our pets. What about in all poultry? Which is weird to me because a lot of times when you read
poultry
is the one, right? But it's the processed poultry. It's not so much the raw poultry, right? So I made a raw poultry blend, right? Because that's what people were looking for. So I have that, and then I have a gentleman that I use out of Portersville that I get raw, unpasteurized, antibiotic-free goat's milk from. Because goat milk is like, for a lack of a better way to describe it, like kombucha for dogs, right? It provides like all these probiotics and all these nutrition, but it's also like Gatorade for dogs. So it also helps with prehydration, which is huge in the working dog world, which we have a special connection to in my household.
And your logo stems from the dog, your first dog, right?
Comes from Leo. So Leo's a Cane Corso, so we use the outline of a Cane Corso for it.
And like, you obviously have what sounds, I haven't tried it yet, which I will now that you're launching. The product seems amazing. Like, I'm a big like diet guy and being healthy, and that's something we don't consider for our dogs. It's not. And like, I think what's so cool, it's like, it's you and your wife.
Yeah.
So what values is this company consisting of when it's you and your wife, right? It's not you and some dude trying to make, it's not you and a partner. It's not you and an investor. It's not you holding you and someone holding something over your head. You and your wife started this from ground up.
Yeah, it's bootstrapped all the way up because we believe in it. Like, it's something that we hold dear to our hearts. Like, we love our dogs.
And it's been 2 years in the making.
Right. It wasn't like, I mean, I've had the thought for years, but it was like, it took to this point now, like almost 2 years to get to this point. A lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. Like it is what it is, but it's like, ultimately I want something better for these animals, but I also want something better for my family. Like you said with your mother, and you want to just retire her. Like, I want to be able to tell my wife she can mic drop work today. Like, you can walk in that door, mic drop it. Done.
But we're cool people, so we're gonna put our 2 weeks in.
Yes, we will definitely put our 2 weeks. And I'm not saying anything bad, but
mic drop it now.
Right, but it's the thing where I want us to have the ability to have
freedom, dude.
The freedom, and I want to show our daughter that you can do whatever it is you want to do. Like, mommy and daddy built this not just for you, but for the future. Like, we want to have some, and not just you have to do this for a living, sweetheart. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I want you to see what it takes to get there. So if you want to do something down the road, whatever it is you aspire to be, you can see that, hey, mommy and daddy gave me the blueprint how to get there.
Dude, funny you mentioned that. This episode hasn't even dropped yet, the one I'm mentioning. Well, by the time this airs, it would have. But Will Moriarty was just on here, and his mom had started this staffing agency. Very successful. She retires from it, sells it, and he's like, oh, "I'm going to school," and she told him, "No, you're gonna start this from the ground up, and I'm gonna help you." So she instilled that in him. So he literally had the blueprint to do this with $50, and she was his first employee. Dude, how dope is that?
That's dope.
Like, she's like,
That's super dope.
and he said, he's like, his mom was, similar mother to yours. She's like, nah, I built this. You're building your own too, because you need to understand what it's like. I'm gonna help you though. Like, that's the
real help.
I'm
not gonna do it for you or hold your hand through it. I'll help you and guide you, but you got to put the work in.
Yeah, and he's like, what better opportunity is that?
Right.
Someone who's lived it, done it, who's so close to me, who has the best intentions for me.
You're not going to get it better anywhere else.
You're not.
You're not going to find somebody else who's going to invest that much into you, non-capital wise.
Yeah, and it's the same. Like, you're showing your family, like, this is what can be done. This is the blueprint, and you can apply these lessons and these in any industry, because it's more of the principles that you're doing.
Right. It's just like what I learned in the kitchen. It's just like what I learned in sports, athletics. Like, it's about that team, right? So it's about that community, that tribe, right? With us dogs, it's a pack mentality. Like, dogs thrive in a pack mentality.
Where my dog's at? I should put DMX on the back of it.
I like that.
I'll probably get sued, but I can't use it. DMX would approve.
But that's the thing, though. So for us, it's more than just a business. For us, it's a culture. right? So that's the whole thing. So I want to build a culture. I want people to understand that there are other alternatives out there. You just got to invest the time and the energy to see that it's there. And I'll take all the guesswork out of it for you, like as much as I possibly can. Like, we're not just selling a product, right? Like, if you have questions, if you need answers, if you're lost, like, we are here to provide we're a resource. Like, and I have people around me that I've connected with that are trusted resources, like the breeders for our dog. We have 2 Cane Corsos now, Aries and Novi. I'm loving to death, right? And our breeders are amazing. Like, they've been doing it for years, and they breed a little different for what they're trying to breed in the breed itself. But their principles are, they're only breeding for like what's necessary, like structure, temperament, not custom colors and all the other bullshit that people
Stuff that kind of like
that doesn't matter. Like, they're not breeding for blue brindle Cane Corso. Like, that shit doesn't fucking happen. Like, you call my one breeder and you say on her on the phone, "Hey, I want a blue," that she hangs the phone up. It's like, that doesn't even fucking exist. Like, you can't even go to her and say, "This is what I want." She just says, "Okay, you're interested in a Corso. I'm going to interview you. I'm going to see if it's a fit for you," right? Number one. Number two, then I'm going to see these puppies come and I'm going to figure out what the temperament and dynamic is. Like, our only choice was between male and female, and that's only because we had one before and she allowed it, and we said we wanted a female in the house because we had a male last time, right? That was it. Like, it took 2 months for us to get Nova.
So she's not finding a dog for a person. She's finding a person for the dog.
Correct.
Dude, that's so dope.
You gotta fit the dog, because I'm not just giving you any dog. I'm not just giving you a dog because you want a dog. Like, you could pay me. It's like you could offer me $1 million for one of my dogs. I'm not giving it to you if it's not a good fit, right? It's a working dog. Like, these dogs are built with a purpose in mind. Like, not that they have to go out and work.
No, but that's
the breed. So you have to be an alpha in your household. You have to be somebody who's headstrong. You have to be somebody who's going to put in the work with these dogs because they're massive, right? Number one, they'll run you, right? So, and I love that. I love the challenge. The dog fits me. I fit the dog. Like, people say all the time, like, oh, when you get a dog, that you tend to share some of the same qualities, like the look, the attitude. I'm a Corso to a T.
I'm a bulldog to a T.
I am a Corso to a T.
I don't like walks. I don't like other people.
But that's the thing, though. So for us, it's like, that's why we want to start the company. And it's a matter of, can we do something better? The other side is, can I give back to my community somehow? Because for me, like, service to my community is important, right? Like, yeah, I coach my daughter's softball team and I love it. I enjoy it, right? Like, I like being active in my community. For me, though, I've always had that nagging thing in the back of not my head, but my heart. Like, when I was a kid, I wanted to be in the Air Force so bad. Like, 80s kid, like, Top Gun came out, then there was the Iron Eagle movies. So, like, you had Top Gun and Tom Cruise, but then you had Louis Gossett Jr. and Iron Eagle. And me being of a multicultural background, like, man, so I can do this. Like, doesn't matter. Like, either one of us I can go do this, right? And then I had to get glasses, and my dreams were shattered because I always told you I had to have 20/20 vision. There was no LASIK, so I was like, damn it.
That's so funny, because when I applied for the National Guard, I scored so high. I think I had like a 98 on my ASVAB.
Nice.
And I picked infantry.
Really?
To the point where my recruiter was like, you can do other things. I was like, well, I'd pick pilot, but I wear glasses. So you said no.
Right.
So infantry. It's like there's engineer, there's communications, like infantry.
Yeah.
He's like, well, fuck, whatever, dude. So yeah, there was that.
But no, that was the thing. So it was always this thing in the back of my head, and like, how am I going to give back? And then 9/11 happened. And my best friend at the time, he was a Marine. He'd been in for 5 years, and I had driven him to and from his drill center because he was a reservist. So I got to know the guys really well, and they kept trying to recruit me for years. Come on, dude, come on, do this. I'm like, nah, I'm in college. I got this path I'm walking. Like, I'm good. Like, I respect what you guys do.
I got a real career.
Like, it's just not
what?
me. I never.
Like,
but yeah, it was important to me. And then 9/11 happened, and the day after, I walked on to the recruiting depot with him. I'm like, send me to the island. I'm like, let's go right now. I want to do this right now.
Dude, there's something about the military, man. Like,
and I sat there.
It's above you.
It is.
You're not joining and you bring stuff to the table, but no, you're becoming something way bigger than yourself.
And that's what I liked about it. Like, because again, having all the athletics, the football, the lacrosse, all the things I was tied to, right, that helped make me me, right? It was important. I liked being a part of something bigger than myself and giving back. long story short, I was there for a long time, and they talked me out of it because I was on a different path. You know, he's like, this is what I signed up to do. I'm here to defend this. You do your own thing, whatever. And then let's fast forward to now, 2 years ago. Same thing. You see all these things going on in the environment with law enforcement, and all this anger and all this dichotomy and all this side, that side, right? And I was like, I can't watch it anymore. Like, how do I help fix this? And I got online and I'm like researching. I'm like, all right, like I'm not too old to join the Pittsburgh Police Department. I know I can handle the physical requirements. Like, this is nothing. I can do this in my sleep. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I talked to my wife about it. We talked about it for a little bit. And then it just wasn't gonna work out because at this point in my life, like to give up my family to do that, it was too much of a sacrifice.
Yeah, it is a big sacrifice.
It was.
The longer you wait, the bigger the sacrifice.
To not be around and to go through it again. This is why I gave up being in restaurants, because the same thing, like it just was a brutal schedule and I just could not stand not seeing my family anymore. So it was like, that's off the table. So then I ended up reconnecting with one of my best friends. We've been disconnected for a while, just for whatever reasons. And we finally touched base again a year or so ago at a family gathering of theirs. And he's a cop in Munhall. He's amazing. Like, he's been a cop forever.
Good, because I got to talk to him. I'm actually investigating 2 people who are from Munhall.
I'll put you in touch.
Yeah, well, after that, that's so funny, dude. I was checking my email before you got here. I'm like, fuck, I got to follow up on this.
No, yeah. So like,
that's fine. Hey, you ever think of the dichotomy of this? I'm a fucking cop. And let's say you're watching my podcast and you're about to be arrested for doing some stupid shit. Yes, I'm talking about you.
Right. Be on the look. He's a canine officer. SWAT canine. He's actually still a firefighter. He's EMS. He is a
all around serviceman.
Dude, he's a beast. Like, he is the tip of the spear. Like, that's who he is, and I love him for it. But his dog Duke is amazing.
Does he train?
He does. Yeah, I think he rolls with you over at.
I think I know. Yeah,
Shipley.
Okay, yeah.
Shipley.
Yep.
Yeah. So Shipley's my dude. Like, he's our daughter's godfather, and his wife is our godmother.
Small world.
Yeah, it is a small one. He's just an amazing dude.
I think he beat me up the last time we were.
Well, he's got a new belt recently too. I think
Yeah.
he just moved up. He just leveled up like a couple months ago.
I haven't trained since March when I tore my meniscus.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that. So I was like, you
I'm
gotta.
about to go back and get white. But that's beside the point. That's
it
tomorrow's
happens.
problem.
That's
Tomorrow's
all right.
problem.
So yeah, so like I was talking to him and I was like, I got a special place for these canine units, right? Because they don't get the love they need, right? And these departments and military departments spend anywhere between 15 and 25 grand on a dog, right? And then they got to figure out how to feed it, take care of it, vet bills. A lot of times it's left to the officer himself.
Well, that's what I was about to say.
It is.
Not to knock departments, but it's here's your dog.
Yeah, now take care of it.
Yeah, dude. It's like, whoa, what about the resources? Like, this is a working dog.
And that's where it kind of gets dropped in their lap, right? And then you read about how many service dogs there are out there in just law enforcement. 50,000 units in this country. 50,000. That's insane, right? In the military, there's about 2,500, right?
And apparently it's dwindling.
It is. And it's just because departments can't keep up with it. The cost.
It's scary.
It's scary, right? It's insane. But the thing is that their nutrition is just left to the wayside. Like, it's an afterthought. Busy lifestyle, you don't have time for all this blah, blah, blah. It's quick, convenient, I guess cost effective, because I don't like using the word cheap, right? Throw a couple things at kid on the bowl, you're out the door, you're good for the day, right? But the problem is, like, that dog is a working dog. Like, so it needs a better quality of nutrition to perform on a high level, right? Number 2 killer for their learning in canine unit dogs is heat stroke. Right?
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, not just, obviously gunshot stabbings, that's number 1, but number 2, 20% of dogs die of heat stroke. Now that could be because like the air conditioning unit and the cruiser went off, right?
Sensor didn't alert
the cop, or the door couldn't get open, or whatever the case may be. That happens. That's a different story. But let's talk about the situations where the dog just got worked on an 8-hour shift because it had to go search for somebody in the heat in Arizona.
Dude, both our dogs were just called out. It was probably a 6-hour search for explosives.
Dude, it's a lot of work on that dog.
And they gave them breaks, obviously, like how they're supposed to. But like after the one officer came up to us, he's like, "Hey, dude, my dog's done. My dog's out."
Right.
And I'm looking at him like, it's like hyperventilating, and I'm like, holy,
right.
You don't realize when they're in that go mode.
Their drive is so high, their body's running on overdrive.
Yeah.
So they're using, that's like you rolling for just hours straight, bro. Like you roll for 3 minutes on the mat, you're like, I need a break.
That's being graceful.
Right.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, right. That's what I'm
Twisted
saying.
steel and sex appeal. And then I'm dead.
So think about a dog running a shift for 8 hours. And granted, it gets the breaks, but again, it's been running on kibble all day, right? So what's kibble? It's dry. When you feed your dog kibble at home, the first thing that dog usually does,
water.
Right to the bowl, right? Slurps down on his water. Well, that can't happen when the dog's out working. Dog wind up bloat, sick, can't function, right? All these issues can happen, right? But if you start off with something like I talked about the orange juice before, if you're preventative over here, you build the system up internally, not reactive after the fact, right? You give it our product, right? Or a raw diet or a raw supplement. Most of that meat is 70, 80% moisture, right? So now that dog's not running all that dry matter. Now it's got actual moisture.
Dude, my mouth is dry thinking about the shit these dogs be eating.
Right.
Now.
So then add the goat's milk. Goat's milk acts like Gatorade, right? It's a prehydrator. So it has electrolytes in it. It has vitamins and minerals and nutrients in it, right? That you don't typically get in your just plain old water.
All right, this is going to be a stupid question. And I apologize.
No.
Like, can humans consume goat's milk?
Absolutely.
Everyone's going to slaughter me for
No,
this.
you can
Like,
drink
I've just
goat's. We're so used to pasteurized cow milk. It is what it is, right? We're used to that flavor. Like goat's milk, it's a little different. Like you can drink it. Like anything that's unpasteurized, there's always a chance there's a bacteria, right? So you can get sick from it. So that all pasteurization is a heat process. You cook it. So you cook all the bacteria, heat it up so the bacteria is gone, right? That's what pasteurized milk is. You drink raw milk.
I just learned another thing. Dude,
Right, you drink something
I
raw.
fucking love these conversations.
Yeah, you drink something raw, right? You're getting everything that other animal had, right? All that natural bioavailable stuff that other animal had. Could you get sick? You could, right? But like anything else, you could get sick from eating the chicken off the shelf at, Giant Eagle.
People have got sick.
People have gotten
Eating
sick.
the chicken off the shelf
Right.
at Giant Eagle.
So it is what it is. But at the same time, if I'm able to put something in this dog in advance, right? It's meal, because that's the most important part of what a dog does. That's how we run. That's how humans run. We run off of food, right? You put good food in the tank, right? Then you're able to perform better, right? So your body's actually going to change physically. If you stop drinking pop, you're going to get smaller, right? If you stop eating fast food every day, you're going to shrink, right? You're going to have
You
less.
talking to me? You talking to the people?
No, I'm talking to the people. Okay. I'm not talking to
I'm
you.
like, how the fuck you know all this about me?
You're good, bro. You're good.
How he know I like Sprite? How he know I like McDonald's?
Ain't nothing wrong with it. But
But that's
it's in
true.
moderation, right?
It
so
is.
so we look at everything, and like what we do is look at it as a triangle, right? So you start with the foundation, nutrition, right? Build them up from the inside. Then you move on to the physical aspects, right? So that dog carries less weight, easier on its joints, easier on its ligaments, right? Able to perform better, perform longer, right? Able to train better, right? Then the mental part comes in. People forget about that with the dogs, right? Dogs have emotion. Dogs have a mentality, right? They do. And if they're not used correctly, the dog itself is not used for what it's meant to be used, then it's going to have issues. It's going to be emotional. It's going to be sad. It's going to be depressed. It's not going to want to do things. It's going to be temperamental. It's not going to listen to commands. It's going to have issues. Dogs get PTSD. They do.
Actually,
stress and trauma.
They get it for a lot less of what. How much am I say that? Like they're more susceptible to PTSD.
Absolutely. They can go talk to anybody. Dogs can't talk and get it off their chest and work through the problem, right? So what do you have to start with? If you're able to give them a better diet so the rest of their body functions at a higher level and the way it's supposed to, you can alleviate some of all those other issues with the dog. And especially working dogs, right? They are in a high stress, high intense environment all the time, right? That's what they do. So if I can figure out how to make these dogs run better and work better and function better, that helps you, the officer, do their job better. And in turn, it helps the department do their job better, which in turn is to protect us citizens better. So it starts with the food.
I'm going to connect you with our guys. I'm literally giving you the numbers.
To me, it's common sense. Like we talked about with ourselves, right? We try to eat clean. We train, right? For a specific purpose. You want to be lethal. I want to be functional and capable, right? And then it helps with the clarity, right? The mental aspect. You might not want to talk to somebody, but if you go out and you ate a good meal that day, right? Something that was good for you, right? Clean. Then you go train hard that day, right? How do you feel at the end of the day? You feel a little bit clearer about your day. You get better rest.
Productive.
You
feel
right. Your mental capacity is at a higher level at that point. You're able to be more productive. You're able to be more receptive in your marriage and have a great conversation with your loved one. Whatever the case may be, you can connect with your kids better, right? Whatever it is.
But you eat McDonald's and then you're lethargic. And
you are.
depressed.
It is. It wears on you. And then it all those other things that add to the issues, right? Your health's not right, then your mental state is not right, and it all snowballs. So the same thing happens with these dogs. But again, they don't have free will. Like you and I have free will. Like I can make that choice to change. That dog can't. I got to do it for the dog.
Where can people find, like, what you're saying? I need for Scrappy. Scrappy needs this. Where can people find more information on CaNine? Where can they buy it? Where can they reach out to you if they're looking to get more information on your product and what you're offering? Because I think it's important, and I think you should definitely, like, I don't know if you're reaching out to the military, but definitely that should be next.
So I have a guy who I've talked to. I don't want to name drop or whatever.
Yeah, no names,
but he's a retired vet. He was a special operator for years, and I've talked to him in detail about some things, and we're trying to figure out how to work out things on the military side because nutrition's important, and I've never understood why they don't have MREs for dogs. Be flat out honest. They don't have them.
Dude, that's creepy.
They don't have them.
In my head, I'm like, what do they have? Like, why don't they have MREs for dogs?
So basically, the dude told me, I said, hey man, when you were out there in Afghanistan, on patrol doing what you were doing, like, what'd you feed your dog? Kibble. Okay, well, what else? Nah, man, like I'd put kibble in Ziploc bags, throw them in my cargo pockets, and we'd roll out and work. And some bottles of water. I was like, now the military dogs, those dogs 100, 150K plus. And those dogs are amazing.
Oh, dude, those dogs are strapped to chest jumping out of airplanes.
Those dogs are amazing. But then you feed them that? Because that's what's available, right? That's what there is for it. So my thoughts are, well, how do we improve this so these dogs can still run the way they need to run and do what they need to do without worrying about repercussions? I said, how do you hydrate the dog? And they came with a slick way. They'd get an IV bag, 1 liter bag. They'd pick the dog in the shoulder blades and they'd fill up shoulder back of the dog with water to have like a little camel back, its own little like hump on his back. So it absorbed in the dog without having it to ingest it because it could cause bloat and other issues, right? With the dog being out running for 10 hours, 12 hours straight on a patrol, right? Smart.
Dude, that's
it's wild. But let's think about this. Let's pre-hydrate the dog before he goes out. So you don't have to do that as often. Let's figure that out. That's where the goats. So there are things I'm trying to figure out with that side of things. And again, that's putting the cart before the horse. I'm starting here with this. And like,
sure.
I've connected with local law enforcement in my own backyard. Like I'm from Center Township. So I've worked with those guys over there and they've been amazing. The 2 dogs they have over there, Tondo and Danny, both their handlers are great. Jason and Will. Like I just approached them. Like I approached Jason like a year ago or so, and it just wasn't right. Like, not that he said no, it was just I wasn't ready for it yet. Like, I wanted to, but I just wasn't there yet. And I just approached him like maybe a month or so ago, and like they're all on it, and the dogs are on it, and the dogs are thriving, and they love it. And what was cool was just yesterday, they invited me out to their training session, and it was incredible to watch these dogs work and do what they do and get a behind the scenes look. And they actually let me participate, which is really cool.
Do they have bite dogs, or do they have?
They have them all. So most of the dogs there were all bite dogs, apprehension dogs, drug dogs, bomb dogs, and then there was one like search and rescue dog. So it wasn't a Mal and it wasn't a GSD, it was a pointer. So they were doing like article work, which means they find keys and stuff in the in the grass, whatever else it was. But yeah, and I got to see some bike work at the end. They're going to put me in the suit, but they didn't have the big suit for me. I was like, bring it on.
Dude, I took a bite years ago. The pressure these dogs come down with, I had no idea. Mm-hmm. Like, I almost felt bad for people who run and get bit.
Well, that's the
thing. For a second.
We train our dogs in that at home, and I have Corsos.
Dude.
So
can they snap your arm?
Yeah. So our dogs. So Corsos have the second strongest bite on a dog in the world. So like they put out about 800 psi when they bite down. Like pit bulls are like between 250 and 350. GSDs are like 350. Same with Mals. So you imagine if one of like our male is 145 pounds, his head's the size of an oversized beach ball. Like his head's like this. He gets you in a bite, a full bite, where he's got you locked in his back teeth. It's
and
over.
just like twist his head a
So
little bit.
he's a little different. Like he will actually lock down and hold, and then he thrashes like a gator.
Oh, so yeah.
So he'll crush it and then tear it off you.
Yeah.
Versus my female, who's got a more frontal bite, and she just kind of chews through you and won't stop till she's done. But yes, but that's neither here nor there. But going out and work with these guys yesterday for like, I was out there for almost the whole day. It was amazing. And talking to them and getting to share my story with them and explaining to them like the value. All of them are like, they're all just like, why have we not heard this before? Like, why are we just hearing about this now?
You are, because here I am.
And that's what I said. I was like, I really want to make a difference for you guys every day. You guys put your lives online, and you have to trust your life in a dog, literally. And the stories I hear from these guys, you know, and what they're telling me that happen on patrols, and what's happened to if they've had a second dog, their first dog, most of them died of cancer. Most of them died of health issues, right? One guy was telling me he ran the wheels off his dog. His dog was amazing, but again, it started having issues, right? Hip issues, joint issues. And it's going to happen. I'm not saying I'm here to cure it. I'm saying I'm here to mitigate it.
Yeah, like
I'm trying to give these dogs
the best chance.
The best chance, right? So to work longer, to work better, right? Because ultimately that's what you want. And at the same time, like if it helps these departments and, you know, these branches of the military save money at the same time, right? That's a big thing. I mean, I hate to say it, but it's a big thing. You drop 20 to 150K on a dog, and you got to replace it every 4 years because the health isn't there, because they keep, you know, they're worked hard and they die because they're worked to death, literally. Well, what if you get an extra 2 years out of the dog, or an extra 3 months out of the dog, or an extra whatever the case may be is, right? And then at the same time, let's talk about all that dry food matter you're feeding them. Like if we can cut a big chunk of that out of it and add something that's a little more natural to their diet, right? We're not spending extra money. We're going to spend the same money, right? So I told those guys over at the department that I'm working with at Center, I said, you guys buy about $1,500 of dog food a year, right? And they're like, yeah. Like I did all the math. I figured out the size of the dog, how much they're feeding it, they follow it to a T, right? I said, all right, so let me do this for you. How about we spend a quarter of that, right, on the kibble, and the rest gets spent on this? And now you're improving the dog's health. They're like, wait a minute, what? Like we don't have to spend extra? No. I'm trying to get you to spend almost the exact same dollar.
Because you're doing all the formula for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of you buying all the kibble you bought and then buy mine on top of it, right? How about we take out 3/4 of that kibble that you spent money on, put that money over here, purchase this, and now you have a better diet for your dog.
And you haven't spent
more. Actually, what it came
extra.
out, this is the finance guy. I mean, it came out to like $172 more a year. That to me, that's peanuts.
That's
To get what? To get maybe, again, there's no guarantee, but to hopefully get some more time out of this dog. I mean, there's a lot of training, there's a lot of connection, there's a lot of bonding, there's a lot that goes into these dogs that people do not see. They see it when they go to the community function, they pet the dog and they see the dog, but they do not see what that dog has to do. I got a firsthand view of it yesterday. It's intense. It's a lot of time on these officers. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of care they have to put in. You can't just get one of these dogs and just be like, whatever.
Oh no, our guys are constantly like I think they're in North Carolina right now.
They gotta always
gotta
be.
The joke is like you guys train so much, when are you gonna like be on shift? Like, but you need to keep that dog stimulated and keep going and working. Yeah, that's their purpose.
You have to.
Where can people find more information?
So we're located at CaNine Clean Nutrition Shop.com. So that's where you can actually get the product from. And then the other website, which is just CaNine Clean Nutrition, is where we have our custom calculator built into it, and then just like some information on there.
CaNine is spelled out C.
It's spelled out the actual word. It's not K-9. It's actually the word. I would tell people you're better off going to the shop because it has a little more interaction, so you can reach out to me or my wife. We have a place on there. You can go ahead and put your information in. We can get your email, phone number, reach out. If you know me or if you want to know me, I tell people you can call me anytime. I got business cards. I'll put my number out there for anybody. You got questions. Again, I am not a vet. I am not a scientist. I am not some guru. I'm just a person like you, puts her pants on one leg at a time every day. Just, years of experience with my dogs and seeing what works and surrounding myself with good people who understand how dogs should function. It's just my personal experiences. So if I can make it better, I'm going to try.
Fuck yeah. That's the only way I can end that. I've just been sitting here like I wish I could take notes, but that's why I get to just play this over.
You can play it over and over again. Well, and I appreciate you having me on, man. Like,
Bro, of course.
Like, this is my first time doing something like that. I've never done a
fucking
podcast.
fooled everybody.
Like,
I'm sitting there, he's sitting there, he's like, I've never, this is my first time putting my face on something. I'm like,
yeah.
Fucking sits down and just goes off, dropping bombs. I'm like, yeah, first time, yeah, okay.
No.
Seasoned vet. Did better than I did.
Nah, get the fuck out of here,
No,
bro.
dude, I appreciate you for jumping on.
Absolutely, brother.
This is please go take a look at it. Like, I'm not telling you, go buy it all. But CaNine Clean Nutrition, he's on Instagram, his websites. Go look at, when you approached me, I was like, he was like, hey, can you help me with a logo? I'm like, dude, this is such a dope fucking idea. This is a cool idea. I've never done anything in the dog industry,
right?
Dog food industry, but just when you were explaining to me, I'm like, this is something that can be very beneficial, and this is something that's overlooked. That's the biggest thing, right? Because I want to start a personal training business,
right?
Very important, very influential, very what's the word I'm looking for? I speak 2 languages. Like, there's a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, it's oversaturated.
It's very oversaturated.
It's oversaturated. And the same thing with with this industry. Like, you can get a lot of oversaturation with it.
But this is the first time I've ever heard of it.
But you've never, and that's the thing, like, you've never heard of a raw supplement company, right? Like, you've heard of raw nutrition, or you've heard of raw treats or freeze dried, or whatever the case is, right? So for me, I had to learn and figure out, like, what's a pain point that I can fix? Like, the pain point is, like, dogs get supplements and it's some powder or it's some sort of pill. And the first time I talked to a few people about it, like, oh yeah, so you have the stuff you put powder all over them? Like, nah, bro.
Or
like,
it's peanut butter.
Right. Or it's some bullshit that it's after the fact thought. It's not before the fact. And then, like I said, when I tell people, they're like, holy shit. Like, why didn't I think of that? Or why didn't anybody ever do this before? Well, that's how ideas usually happen, right? Like, I'm that dude. Me and my wife are those people that are like, it's fucking common sense to me. Like, it really is. Like, I'm not saying people are dumb, and don't take the wrong way, people out there. I'm not saying that. You just don't know what you don't know. That's what it comes down to. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. And again, it's not snake.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Right. So I'm hoping people can really get behind it and see the value. And again, it's not just for those working dogs or the canine dogs or the military dogs. It's for every single dog. I don't care if you have a teacup Yorkie.
You're just going to get less of the raw supplement because it just
it.
needs less of the supplement.
That's it. Like, I don't care if you have, a Burmese mountain dog or, a giant schnauzer or whatever it is. Like, I don't care what kind of dog you have, right? Like, you need to do it for them because they don't have the free will. And it just is common sense.
It's our responsibility.
It is. It's our responsibility. And people look at owning a dog as just a thing, and like, it's not. Like, you've brought this living creature into your household, like, and you love it. We humanize dogs every day. You see it all the time. People dress them up. People take them everywhere they go. They shop them. They put them in bags. People on average spend $3,800 a year on just stuff for their dogs, not including healthcare, food, just stuff.
People are weird.
Yeah. Hey.
No, I get it.
But yeah,
like, my dog is my dog. That's why he's so special to me, because that's his role to me. I'm his human. We have a very, I'll say, unique bond.
But everybody does with a dog.
Yeah, but like, if I started picking him up, putting clothes on him, he'd probably look at me like,
right.
Like, we don't do that.
Right.
But that's our.
Right. If I did that with my female, so my wife and daughter wants to do that every Halloween. They see the Halloween costumes for the dog at the Halloween store, right? And like, they tried one. We let it happen like 2 years ago. Now, granted, my female is 125 pounds. She's brolic. My boy is 145 pounds. Like, he makes her look small. They tried to get the extra large pumpkin costume for my dog, and they put it on her at home. And like, Nova looked at us and was like, "What the fuck is this? Like,
you got 3 seconds and I'm ripping it."
Right. And then you put it on our boy, and he was just like, "Really? Are you gonna do this to me?" Like, he was pouting. I'm like, bro, neither one of you two are wearing costumes. Like, it's not happening.
They are the costume.
Right. Like, you can be Batman without the Batman costume, and you can be whatever it is that you want to be over here.
You're Bruce Wayne. You're undercover.
Right. Like, and again, I'm not knocking people or judging. I'm just saying, like, to me, it's just, it is what it is. Like everybody has their own personality. Like
It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't.
Right. It works.
Bro, I appreciate you.
No, thank you, brother.
Looking forward to what you got coming and where this goes, man. I feel like I've been there from I haven't been there from the grind, but
you've been there from the beginning. Like
from the beginning, I'm excited to see where it goes, bro.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you for jumping on.
Appreciate it, man.
All
Thanks.
right, this is it. Later.